Welcome everyone to another super exciting, very special episode of the Tank Talk podcast. I did a lot of talking last week, Jason, so I want to give you the opportunity to introduce or say what it is that we're talking about today, because this is a big deal of an episode here.
When you and I first started coming up with guests we would like to have on the Tank Talk podcast, this was one of the first that we talked about. Darius from Northfin. He is the owner of Northfin Foods. And as most of you know who have been watching this podcast for a while, both John on KG Tropicals, myself on Primetime Aquatics, this is what we use. For me, this is all I use. So when it comes to flakes and pellets, this is it. All of my fish, thousands of fish in the fish room. So I am super excited to actually be able to get to sit down and talk with Darius and talk about fish food. Can't wait.
I'm excited about it too, and I think that we just should stop messing around. I think we should get right into it and bring in the man himself. Darius, we're going to say his last name is Northfin for this episode. Darius, I thank you so much for coming on here and giving us all your top secret information about your very special fish food. Appreciate you being willing to do this.
Well, thank you for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure. I want to start this off kind of easy. Northfin Fish Foods, you've been out for quite some time. What started this? What made you start your own fish food brand?
Well, we started Northfin in 2011. I think the first product I introduced to the stores in 2013. We saw the need for the higher quality fish food in the industry, because at that time, I was looking for something more nutritional with more nutritional value, and for healthier food, and market was very, very small, and most of the formulas were outdated that were coming out to the market. So there was a need, and in 2011, I decided to go ahead to get all the best ingredients, select the best ingredients, formulate, put the production line by myself, and start manufacturing the basically highest quality. I consider this the highest quality food on the market, at least on the moment right now.
When you were looking at fish food that was on the market at that time, what was standing out to you? What was the problem with so many of the foods that you saw back in 2011 that were like, wow, we have to change this?
Well, the ingredients. Everything was about the ingredients and the formulations, because the market was using like a very, very low quality ingredients just to get a bigger profit margins. And the food was very, very low quality. So, the ingredients like soya, corn, wheat middlings, potatoes. Now, those ingredients should not be in the high quality aquarium food. They have their own room in the farm food, because that's farm food is formulated for the different purpose. It's formulated for the fish to grow fast, in a year or 6 months, a year or year and a half, and the fish is done, and that's it. Aquarium fishes are different, because farm food don't care what's gonna happen to the fish after 3 years. That fish not gonna make it. So that's a difference. So for the aquarium fish, you need to formulate a formula that will keep the fish, living much longer to the expectation, and the aquariums clean the water ecosystem, to support ecosystem, and with the less pollution, that's the idea. But and all the foods were basically farm foods repackaged and pushed to the market as premium aquarium products. So that was the main issue.
So if you let's go back to 2010 and previous, if you were to feed fish the foods that are filled with cornmeal, soy meal, potato, yeast extract, and you're just primarily feeding fish those foods, what happens to the fish? What kinds of problems does a typical fish keeper see that they might not even realize is connected to those poor quality foods?
Well, the two things that will happen, the health of the fish, the longevity of the fish, and the ecosystem in the tank is going to be messed up. So the fish will eat something that cannot digest properly. It will create issues, bloating, internal blockages, and then all those fillers will end up in your tank, which is going to be messing up your ecosystem. Polluting the water, polluting the tank, and then you're getting, and then like you see a lot of aquariums getting in those in those problems. They're struggling to keep the tank clean, the water clean, and the fish healthy, because the fish, going to the fish, the fish has, most of the fish has some kind of parasites or internal parasites, and those parasites mostly is dormant, and they're just waiting till the fish immune system gonna go down, and they're gonna strike, and that's what happened. You get the fish, you feed something that does not support, the immune system, and then the fish becomes sick because it's a weak fish.
And that's such an important point too when you talk about, and it's not something most people consider, is when you feed poor quality foods and fish pass more of that poor quality food through the digestive system and then excrete it as waste, you're actually just making bigger problems for yourself when it comes to tank maintenance, water changes, making sure your tanks maybe have less algae, because a lot of the nutrients are just passing through the fish.
Yeah, and the idea was, for us, to create a food that the fish is healthy, because we don't sell medicine. So my goal was to create a food that you don't need to use medicine. But you see the other brands, they're selling you food, and you turn around, they're selling you medicine.
And there's big money in medicine, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, one of your kind of claims to fame, not claims to fame, but one of the things that kind of put you on the map was your primary protein source in a lot of your foods is whole Antarctic krill. Why? What made you choose that versus some of the other things that other manufacturers are using?
Well, the krill is a very, very good protein source. It's easily digestible. The nutritional profile is excellent. With the proteins such as amino acids, omega-3 fatty acids, you name it. It has a profile, very, very good profile. So, and it's available. So that's why we choose. It also contains a lot of astatixin, which increases the red color as a natural pigment. It makes it's crucial for the fish to be healthy and to grow normally, and to keep the immune system in a good standing.
Well,
so
and correct me if I'm wrong, but whole Antarctic krill is also a lot more expensive than some of those other proteins. And so this is kind of the first thing. We're talking about a fish food brand here that is a premium brand without the premium prices. You're basically sacrificing some profit to put a better ingredient in there. Am I wrong about that? I'm pretty sure I'm right there, aren't I?
The krill is most expensive ingredient. Yeah, you are correct. It's more. That's why you don't see a lot of companies using it, because it's so expensive, and and it's hard to absorb that cost into the food. But because we're a smaller company, we don't have overheads, we don't have million people working, we can absorb that cost, and we can produce that high quality food even with making less money, but we still can manage to do. Big companies, they're struggle, because if they put something that costs $4 a kilo or something in the food, and they're selling for $4, you're not gonna do anything.
Right. And on the topic, I got one more, Jason, and then if you want to jump in, there's one more ingredient that I wanted to talk about. When we talk about a lot of algae-based stuff or veggie-based stuff. The main one that everybody has in their food is spirulina. I don't think that anybody would say that's a bad thing. We've seen chlorella pop up. You went with kelp. What is the what's the deal with that? Like, why kelp over the others?
Well, kelp is again, kelp and spirulina, both types of algae, but they have different profiles and benefits, nutritional profiles. Kelp is like we know, it grows in the sea, in a forest. You know, it's abundant ingredient. It's a natural ingredient. It's a superfood. It has a very good profile, nutritional profile, and it's available. So because with the other algae like spirulina, you cannot like other spirulina, they're using blue-green spirulina. You only can put so much in a formula, because otherwise it's not going to work, and even the pellets is not going to be healthy for your fish if you overdose. But the kelp, you can use it, as much as you want, and it's a natural, it's organic, it comes from the nature, and it's abundant. So it's very, very good ingredient, and again, it's costly too, because it's the people needs to go to the sea and harvest and bring it and dry it. So it's a process, and the kelp is used for the dog foods, for other foods, pet foods, and we selected to use for the fish food because it's one of the best ingredient from the algae.
Well, and it's effective too, because I will say this: we sell a lot of Northfin foods, but by far our best seller is the kelp wafers. I mean, they sell, and even the flakes too. It sells, all of it sells well, but the kelp wafers, we can't keep them in stock. It's a problem.
It's a good problem to have.
That's right. That's right.
And we have the same situation when we bring the Northfin foods to our swaps. It's the kelp wafers. They go. And I think what a lot of people don't realize, and we do our best to educate them, is this: a lot of people think, oh, kelp wafer, that's good for plecos and otos and just algae-eating fish. But no, I put kelp wafers in all my Cory cat tanks, my Tetra tanks, Rasboras, and they go crazy for those kelp wafers. They do a little tornado of eating around those things. And so it's not just for algae-eating fish.
Snails and shrimp too.
Basically any fish. You can feed your Oscars too. Throw some kelp wafer to the Oscars. They will eat it.
Yeah.
And it's healthy for them to clean up the internal system and everything. Yep.
So here's more of a technical question. When I look at Northfin's offerings, and I just look at fish food in general, it seems like it's more difficult now to find pellets that float. Now, the food sticks absolutely float, but just generally speaking, from somebody who manufactures fish food, is it more difficult to create a pellet that basically floats the entire time?
It's not difficult. I just need to make some adjustments when I run the product, and we can achieve the floating pellet from the same material. But
is it just more of a density thing?
The floating will be, it's going to be a density. So you're basically getting the air bubbles inside the food. Okay. So that's why it floats. Basically, it's like a foam. You're making like a foam, and it floats. So you're creating you're using a little bit more pressure, okay, basically. And when it exits the extruder, the pellet pops like a popcorn.
Can you take us through, you don't need to share like all your secrets, but can you take us through like what does it involve if you're making a flake food, right? So you've got you got the krill, the kelp, the cichlid, the community, others as well. Like what actually happens in that process where you go from ingredients to a flake?
So flake and pellets, different process. So that's a two completely different process. So let's talk about the pellets first. So the pellets, all manufacturers are using meals. So pellets and flakes are made from meals. There is no raw fish, involved in the process, because you cannot make a pellet or flake from the raw fish, because the fish contains 80% water and about from 1% to 15% oil. So basically, you can't do it, and then you have a bones, and then, you need to grind it to make a nice powder. So first of all, the water and oil needs to be extracted from that fish that is going to be used for the pellets or flakes. So that undergoes the process. It's heated a little bit higher temperatures, it's dried, and then it goes through the mill, and it's milled to the size that you prefer. So then you end up with the meal. So the meal is gonna be look like like a powder. So that's a krill meal. It's a powder. So then it's a very fine powder. So there is no bones. Same thing with the fish meal. No bones, no nothing. So you're getting nice powder, and then you mix all the ingredients. So you mix, you wait, and you mix your formulation basically. What it goes in that formula, and you add the vitamins, you add other ingredients, and then you mix it in a mixers, and then it runs through the extrusion process. Then there's a steam. There is a different process. There is a steam introduced in the conditioner, and then you extrude the pellet. So we are using double screw extruders in our process, which does not create a lot of heat. So that's a very beneficial because we're not heating the product to excessive temperatures. Also, we don't cook at our end when we produce, we don't cook anything. So all the vitamins, all the good material, good stuff is not cooked, because we have a minimums on the temperature set by FDA, USDA, CFAA, but we are on a very, very low scale, because we're not obligated to cook to the higher temperature, because we're not using any bovine, chicken, blood meals, bone meals, or whatever, scraps other companies using. So they're getting the heat implemented to very, very high temperatures to eliminate possibilities of salmonella, all the pathogens, and now whatever may end up in that food. So we are we're running on very low heat, so we don't cook anything. But I see people saying, "Oh, the food is cooked," no, it's not cooked. So that's one point. Going to the flake is gonna be, again, it's a dry powder, starting from the dry powder from the meal, and then goes into the mixer, and then the water is introduced. It may be 65% of the water, and basically you're getting liquid like that. So it's a liquid. So it's like a slurry, or you know how you want to call it, pancake batter. So, and then it's a drum, and basically the material are spilled on the drum, and the drum is rotating, heated by the steam. And when it rotates and the material runs and it basically bakes on it, so the flake is heated on a little bit higher temperature than the pellets, because it need to dry when it goes, and it falls over, that the drum is a ready product, because it's very thin, so it dries very fast. So that's a process for the flake, basically.
And for people who are listening to this, I cannot stress, the biologist in me, how important that is when you're talking about temperatures, when you're any type of food, whether it's food for human beings, food for fish, dog food. The more you heat that food, the more the nutrients break down, especially the vitamins in that food.
Yeah.
Vitamin C or vitamin D, it does denature when you heat it to extreme temperatures. So that's incredibly important. I've always had a question that I think a lot of people probably don't understand. When you look at the ingredients of the food, there's always a percentage of ash. What is that? What does that do for fish?
Ash. Well, then we need to talk where is the ash comes from. Like I was talking to Ben the other day, and he was saying, "Oh, people are saying why do we put ash in the food?" Well, we don't put ash in the food. It's a natural thing. Ash comes from the minerals, So basically, it's a testing. When we test for the nutritional value, the product, the batch, or whatever, we run the proteins, the fats, and the moisture and ash. So ash is basically you take the product and you ashing. So the burning at a higher temperature, and whatever is left in that analysis becomes ash. So the ash is going to be basically minerals, calcium, and other minerals from the minerals that you putting from the fish bones and from the plant materials, because plant materials has a lot of ash too. Basically, when you look at the formulas, like cichlid formula, we have around 9, because it's less plant materials. And when you look at the veggie formula, it's going to be 12, because the most ash will going to come from the kelp, spirulina, and then the minerals. So that's what this ash is on the end. It's not digestible material on the end, but it still contains the minerals which fish will absorb, and the rest will gonna end up in your tank. So so ash, you need to you need to look at ash around 9%, which is more normal, because if more ash, then it may be something something too much, or if there is no ash. Well, you cannot get any food without no ash. So there is no food without no ash. But if you're getting like 6 or 5% ash, that means that food does not have the minerals, does not have the algae material, does not have a lot of things. That's why you don't have the algae.
And one more question. I'm going to let John do his thing here, because I know you've got
Jason. I have to interject here, because I promise I'm going to let you finish. But are you saying, Darius, that ash is not as bad a thing as people have made it out to be?
No. Yeah. You're correct. It's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. You cannot have zero ash. It's not possible. I see the foods. Just looking last couple of days on internet. I see the foods advertised 0 ash, and in the ingredients they are using insect larvae, and I have a analysis here. And an insect larva, black soldier larva, has 12% ash. Just a meal. So when they're using the larva meal in the product and they're claiming that their product is 0% ash,
how's that possible?
That's a BS.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting there, Jason. I'm going to hand it back to you.
Great clarification. So the other thing that you hear a lot about, and I'm curious to get your opinion on, when we're comparing flakes versus pellets, sometimes you will hear people say, and it seems logical because of the surface area, if you put flakes in water, there's a potential for that flake to lose nutrients to the water column faster than a pellet. Would you say that's true, not true, generally the principle?
That is true. The longer any flake or the pellet, the longer stays in the water, the more nutrients going to leach out. So, yes, that's completely true, because the flake is very thin. The flake absorbs the water in a second. The pellet maybe take a little bit longer. But the flake, yeah. And overall, when you're feeding fish, you want that fish to eat it right away. You don't want a food floating for 30 minutes, 40 minutes in your tank. Because if that happens, that food becomes just mush without no nutritional value. So basically, you just polluted your tank with something, and fish eat it, and there is nothing in there.
And that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people think, oh, feed as much as your fish can eat in a couple minutes, which is great advice, but sometimes it's great advice, but they don't fully understand why that's such great advice, because not only do you want your fish to eat the food and not have it just rot, but even if that food sits in the tank for long periods of time, even if they do eat it, they're not getting a whole lot of nutritional value out of that anyway. So be very timely about your feeding and keep an eye on your fish while they're eating.
Exactly. And going to the previous question, you were talking about the floating foods. So yeah, we can make those foods. The only thing that we don't make a lot of floating foods because you don't want to fish overall. You don't want to fish to eat it from the top, gulping air, because that's another issue that you will get for the certain types of fish when they start gulping air from the top. So that's a concern to be. So that's why we're trying to make pellet a little bit sink a little bit faster. But we can adjust. We're working to adjustment, to make it, to slow down the sinking. But also you can use different techniques. If you notice it, if you throw the pellets much faster in the tank, they will sink.
Yep.
If you put them slowly on the top, they will hang a little bit longer. Also, it depends what filtration or currents you have in your tank. If you have, power heads going up and down, you can throw anything. It will be pushed to the bottom right away. So, some people are complaining, sinks too fast. Now, some people I'm getting, it goes into my overflow. It's not it doesn't go too fast. So
It's so funny that you say that because I instinctively, and John, I'm sure you do it too. I instinctively do that where if I've got fish that are on the bottom, I take my Bug Pro or my cichlid pellets and I just kind of chuck them. And so they hit the top and go right away. But then I've got other fish where I'm like, this needs to stay in the water column. So I'll do real gentle with the Bug Pro, just kind of let it out slowly and it kind of flows, but then it just starts to trickle down a little bit. So it's funny that you mentioned that because I do the exact same thing. I think it's just something you instinctually start to learn as you feed dozens of tanks every day.
Yeah, and people have to, you have to learn a bit and adapt the different feeding techniques because a lot of people are maybe stubborn, and then, they throw and then they're not happy what's happened. Well, it's not our fault that they sink too much, It's not the fish fault that they cannot, not fast enough to eat it. It's just, that's how you feed them, adjust the feeding, maybe ratio, maybe put less food. Because as I see people taking handful and they have 3 fish and they're putting 100 pellets in it, yeah, they cannot, the fish gonna grab only maybe 2-3 pellets. Everything goes on the bottom. Yeah. And then they say, too much food on the bottom. Well, you put it too much food in the tank, just to begin.
That's not the food's fault. I got to tell you, I'm the guy that's fascinated by things that have motors and power and grinders and all of this stuff. And I'm fascinated by the fact that you assembled your own fish food extruder. And I've been told that you don't allow anyone to use that machine but you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And this is an owner of a company who put together his own extruder, and you are the one that is making this fish food. You're not ordering it from some company overseas. You're not, hiring a contractor to do it. You're the one that's making all of this. I'm impressed by that. But I'd like to know, first of all, how did you build your own fish food machine? And why are you so picky about that, about making sure you're the one that's in there doing all of this?
Okay, so my background is a food industry engineer. So most of the time I worked on R&D, research development or setting up the equipment for all different things, huge long lines for the production, and then we used to train the people. And basically, we put equipment, we set up, and then we hand it to the massive production. So that's what I used to do most of the time. So knowledge, I do have a little bit of knowledge on that and understanding. So with that experience, I can basically do a lot of things and make a process work. Design the process and put it in the use and produce what I need, So that's what it started. With that, I have about 24 years of experience in that field. So I did a little bit, on that side. Overall, with everything, I have about 45 years of experience. With the food industry and the fish keeping and that. and aquarium business and Northfin, it will be overlapping, but it's about 19 years I'm doing this thing. So a little bit, I accumulated a little bit of knowledge. So I was able to set up, to get equipment. I travel around the world. I went to US looking for equipment, Germany. I got equipment from Canada. I went to China, of course, because there are some components are made over there and you cannot get them here. So I went, I selected, I built it, I modified to my needs, and we're running it right now. For the past basically 11 years.
Well, that's impressive. When I heard that, I was like, wow. I mean, that's fascinating to me. Now, this is not a planned question, but you and your family are originally from Lithuania.
Yeah.
What made you choose? You're manufacturing your food, and you live in the Toronto area. What made you choose Toronto over the United States?
Well, I had in the 90s. In the 90s, I had the opportunity to come to Canada. I came basically for the vacation.
Okay.
And I stuck around for another 35 years.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good answer. I mean,
if I had the opportunity to go to US, I may end up as your neighbor.
Hey, North Carolina, there's a lot of land for sale around here. We can work something out for you. I got 4 acres myself. We can put you up somewhere in here. That's no problem.
Yeah, so it happened like that. So yeah, and we stuck here for now,
So what happens when we blow Northfin up so big that how big is the company going to have to get before you're going to have to pull yourself off of that extruder?
Well, I'm testing myself. We'll see. We'll see. Well, getting older too.
Yeah, I mean, but see, you said you've been doing this 45 years. You don't look a day over 37. So
well, I'm older than you both. Oh, both
okay.
Of you.
Well, shame on me because I wish he's got a glorious mane of dark hair and a dark beard, and I'm sitting here all grayed out, and that's embarrassing. But
well, the future. Yeah, I want to expand. I was looking to start another factory in Europe. I also looking to start another factory in US.
Okay.
So we let the cat out. No.
Yep. I mean, we're going to hold you to that.
but yeah. So we'll see how we can get to that point. But the time will show. But there is a bigger plans, and we need to expand. We need to build more, and with the shipping from Canada is a little bit complicated to ship around the world. And it's basically easy if the demand is sufficient. It's basically it's better to set up something in the each country.
You mentioned cooking the food, high heat, that destroys nutrients. That's absolutely true. What are your thoughts then on freeze-dried foods? Because you see them all the time, freeze-dried bloodworms, brine shrimp, tube effects. Does it still retain nutritional value? I mean, to the best of my knowledge, that is not an area that Northfin even produces any food in. So what are your thoughts on the freeze-dried foods?
Oh, well, I need to look at, well, when we're talking about food, we need to pull the nutritional value. I'm not familiar because I have no interest in those foods, so I don't have a lot of information on them. But the first thing we need to get the analysis and look what you're getting out of them, and then to compare to the other foods and see if they are compatible, if they have complete nutrients and proteins in them, because it's very hard. It's freeze dry. It's a good supplement, from time to time, but you're not gonna get all the minerals that your fish need in the tank. You not get a full profile of proteins in there. So as a supplement is fine, but don't rely on it because it doesn't matter how you look at it. They're not gonna have what your fish will need, in to get nutritionally.
And would you say that's similar to like the frozen foods? Like if you got frozen bloodworms, brine shrimp?
Yeah, frozen foods may be a little bit better because they're they have some meat in there, and depends on what kind of food you're talking. Some food like a Daphne, the brine shrimp, frozen. Yeah, it's a good starting point for the fry, for the smaller fish. To start growing them out. For the bigger fish, yeah, krill is a frozen krill is a good treat. From time to time, but you have to look at the fish. And so you don't run into the problems, because you can run into the problems if the fish cannot digest properly too. And the other thing is you have to be very careful with the frozen, because you can introduce some parasites in there. So if you're buying the big brand, like, well, I'm not going to mention, but yeah, those brands a little bit, they're taking a little bit more care on it. But if you buy a no brand, name, something frozen like a bloodworms, you can get a lot of things in your tank via that frozen food.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because I had somebody ask me that on a live stream. I think it was last night or last week. Do I feed frozen bloodworms? And I said, no, I haven't fed them in years. And one of the reasons why I don't anymore is when I did have problems related to food, it was almost 100% because of frozen bloodworms. I'd get some bloat, or I'd get fish that are just really lethargic after feeding them. And once I stopped doing that, especially with the Northfin foods, they're so nutrient dense. I never found a need to go back to those other foods. Now I recognize there are some fish, hey, they're either live foods or frozen, and they won't convert to processed, to pellets or flakes, which is fine. But if I can eliminate that, I do, because I just don't want to run the risk of having issues again.
Yeah, and the bloodworms, there is nothing there. If you look at the bloodworm, there is a skin and the liquid inside. Yeah. So, you're not gaining a lot. But yeah, like you said, some fish will only eat them, and you cannot do anything, so you're stuck with it.
One of the biggest mistakes I ever made, you're going to love this. I had frozen krill, big giant blocks of frozen krill, and I was cracking it off, and I was just chucking it in the tanks. Now I hadn't fed it in a while, and I felt like I was doing something wrong. I fed about 20 tanks, and I turned around. I forgot to rinse it. And oh my gosh, did I have a problem. I had 20 aquariums that needed like a 75% water change, just all of that cloudiness and oil and everything, all from frozen krill. So that was a tough lesson to be reminded of.
Yeah, because they're freezing. They're using a lot of water too in those blocks. Because you're buying ice too.
Yes.
Yep.
They want to sell you some water too. So yeah, you have to defrost them. You have to raise them under the cold water, and then put it in a tank. Yeah, the smaller frozen foods, yeah, you cannot do that, because it's too small. But like a krill, yeah, you need to raise under the cold water to get all that whatever mucus or whatever in that water is.
Now I've got a question that everybody is waiting to hear about, I think. They're waiting to hear the answer. And I actually spoke to you recently about this because we had a couple of big bags in our inventory that expired. The expiration date was reached on it. And I messaged you about it, and I was like, hey, can I drop this with, a big sale or something? And you were like, John, it's fine. The question I have for you is, when you make these foods and you put them in these sealed bags, how long do they last, and how important is the expiration date on them?
Well, if the bag is closed, sealed, unopened, the food will last for years and years and years. There is nothing going to happen to them. Yeah, of course, it's losing a little bit, small percentage of nutrients, but it's not going to affect, your fish, how the fish are eating that food or anything else. One thing what you need to look when you're buying food is that the food has to be in a dark containers. Because the more issue you will get with when you're buying food in the clear containers that sit on a shelf for a 6 month, a year, or 2 years or something, that food in those containers, clear containers, will lose the nutritional value huge percentage. Anything that is in a dark sealed bags will preserve that thing for years and years. So as long as the bag is not open, it kept not frozen, not on a heater somewhere, it should not be any problems even if you open after 5 years. And the expiry date is just a regulation that you need to put it. Some companies don't even put it, but but Northfin puts 3 years. It is what it is. But the food you can open after 5 years and feed it to your fish as long as it's not spoiled. If you see something wrong with the food, the moisture got introduced, the bag got broken or something, the mold started in that, then you throw that out.
The reason why I asked you about that is because we accidentally sold one of those to a customer, and he emailed and he was like, hey, you sent me a bad bag of food. And I was like, uh-oh, because I didn't realize, because the big bags don't sell as much for us as the smaller bags. So I emailed you about it, and when I emailed him back, I said, hey, open it up and smell it. Northfin food smells good. Open it up. If it smells good, you should be fine. And the owner of the company, the guy that made this food, said it should be completely fine. And thankfully, the customer was understanding and he didn't give me any problems. And he opened it up and he said it smelled really good. So that was good. But, I know this and you know this, but it's still difficult to sell a bag that was sold by accident, to sell a bag that's been expired. People look at that like, oh no, it's bad now. And I'm like, oh, it's not bad. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, expiry date if you put do not use after that date, then it will be different,
Right.
But now, right now it's expired. So basically what we cannot guarantee,
Right.
we cannot give you guarantee on the freshness, but it's nothing wrong with the food. That food will support your fish nutritionally. It's not like, it lasts 80% of the nutrients. No, it's not. Maybe it lasts 1, 2, maybe 5%, but it's not, you're not gonna see any effects. Okay.
Well, and it didn't really hurt us because I just put those in my tanks. And I just said, well, we'll take them off the inventory, the ones that were expired, and there was only a couple. And I just fed them to my fish, no problem. And it was fine.
Yeah.
So, but as a retailer, I didn't want to send those out. So our governments make us do things that just don't make any sense.
Yeah.
So when you take that food, what I've always done, especially with like the larger buckets of flakes, is I'll just throw them in the freezer. Is there any downside to doing that? Because I'll have them in the freezer for some of the stuff 9 months, close to a year. Never had a problem. Never really lost any freshness. Is there any issue with doing that?
The only one issue is introducing the moisture inside the food. When you take the food out of the fridge and you put it, if you are fast enough, just take what you need, put in a different container and put it. If you take the food and put it on a table and walk around for an hour, you're gonna see the moisture build up on the back. If you open it, it will build up inside, and then you close it and then you put it back. So then the food will get the frost bites and moisture inside, and then it's gonna be degrading slowly.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I do. I basically take it out of the large bucket, throw it in a smaller one, and the smaller one stays out, but the large one's maybe out for like 2 minutes, and then back in the freezer it goes. But yeah, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. So as long as you don't avoiding introducing the moisture inside the food, so you should be okay. So that's the only one. But yeah, if you freeze it, if you have a 2.5 bag, you throw it on the freezer, you can keep it for 3, 4, 5 years, and take it out and using. But as long as that food is not, it does not get mold, frost bites, and something growing in it, then you are fine.
Well, and I feel like it's important to mention that we haven't said it yet here. You are manufacturing this food in what would be considered small batches, as opposed to, I'm not going to name any names, but there's big companies out there that are manufacturing hundreds of thousands of bags of food because they have to keep up with the demand. But yours, that food that they're manufacturing hundreds of thousands of bags of might sit in their warehouse for 6 months and then sit on the shelf at a distributor for 3 months and then sit at the fish store for 6 months. And by that time, it's really, really old. You're manufacturing, and I've actually seen pictures of your batches. You're manufacturing these in smaller batches, and I would imagine your reasoning for that would be to maintain that freshness.
Yeah. So today morning, I went to the factory. I ran Bug Pro.
Nice.
I ran Bug Pro, crisp, and then I ran a little bit of 2 mil as an experiment. I did a 2 mil Bug Pro pellet, which is not on our market yet. But I ran
If you need somebody to test that,
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. We were just talking about that today, that we would love to have a larger Bug Pro. That would be awesome. 2-3 mil Bug Pro would be really cool.
Yeah, and we're running in a small batches. So I run, like the food that you got, that I sent before New Year. Right now I send it. After New Year. Yeah, January 2nd we sent everything. It was made in a couple weeks before.
Wow.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you came out with some new food. I'd love for you to share, what the latest is.
The new formulas. No, don't give up the formulas, but
Okay, so you want to come back to the other manufacturers. So other manufacturers, like, they're not producing their own food, so they go to the factory, they order 50 tons of the food. It's getting made, they're getting shipped by trailers to their facilities, and then that food waits till it gets packaged, and that. So you can end up getting a food that is sitting in a warehouse for 2 years. So that's a difference between what we do.
So the new products. You introduced some new products recently.
New product. Yeah, so now we're just playing around right now with the new product. So the Bug Pro sticks we introduced. So that's gonna be addition right away, to our line. So it's a longer pellet, the same formulation as the Nano Bits or Bug Pro. So it's the same mix of the ingredients, only the different shape of the food. So the bug sticks, So that's a newer one. The other three. So Super Hat. I did some runs maybe 6 months ago or a year ago, and I was testing the food for the hobbies that needs additional red color, food for the fish. So I worked on that. So this one has basically a regular cichlid mix, that was a Northfin cichlid mix, but it has 3 times more astatoxin, which is the rat algae.
Wow.
So that's another one. The mix, the super mix again. We try to do something. It's for fun again. It's a mix of 3. It's similar like used to be, if you remember. Well, right now maybe you can buy them too. Mixed flakes. You used to buy red flake, green flake, brown flake, and they're mixed. So we did this same thing with the pellets now. So especially when you have a tank with the mixed cichlid, like Mabuna, peacocks, haps, So this will accommodate the whole nutritional need for all different cichlids, because you will get a veggie, you will get a krill for the color and more protein. You will get a regular cichlid formula. So that's what we want to try to, well, basically test the market and see if there is a demand, and we will decide later if we go in a mass production. But we're still going to be making right now the smaller quantities and see what's going to happen.
Now,
And,
what is the Dynarix? Is that how you say it?
we created another brand name. So this is the Northfin branch is going to be. But I want to keep those products on the side. I don't want them put it in the same in the as a Northfin, because we're not sure we're gonna see the market. We're gonna see, and also with those foods we're gonna work closer with like you guys, like more interact with the hobbyists instead of going through the huge distribution and huge stores. That is gonna be lost, and no one gonna know if that food is exist.
So is
So,
that the kind of thing that, like, if the super mix, which was, I understand, Ben Ochart's idea, correct?
well, it was everyone's idea. But
Okay,
yeah,
well, yeah, that's true.
because
So,
the Ben is always mixing the food. He likes to mix. So we came up with the idea, and yeah, let's do it. And I talked to Ben, and and yeah, and
it's a
it
great
happened.
idea. So with this being under this brand, if this takes off and sells really well, are you saying that this would maybe become a Northfin thing, or is it always going to stay under the different brand?
It's gonna stay on the Dynarix,
Okay.
and the name is Dynarix. So we pronounce Dynarix.
Dynarix. Okay. Got to roll that R. That's tough for me.
So we're gonna, because we wanna have a little bit more control on it. So that's the idea.
Very nice. Jason, we got one more question on our list. Did you want to go with that one, or do you
Yeah,
want me to?
you've obviously come a long way in the last 15 years with Northfin, addressed a lot of what is needed out in the market. Where do you see fish food going in the future? Is there a direction that you see? Are there new things you want to do coming up in the next 3, 5, 10 years from now? Where do you see Northfin?
Well, we're gonna try to keep the quality and the ingredients on the highest level. If we see something new ingredients coming into the market, we're gonna try to grab them and introduce them too. We're not trying to, we're not gonna be using anything low that is available. The market, you see, the market is going. They're using a lot of bio waste, a lot of things from the rendering plants coming in. They want to replace the protein with something, mechanically grown, so we're not gonna go that road. We're gonna keep the Northfin, with the best ingredients. We're gonna use the best ingredients what is available. We're gonna try to keep it. What we started, we're gonna continue. So that's our mission for now.
I can expand on that a little bit and ask that question a different way. Several years ago, probably, what was it, 10, 12 years ago, maybe before then, I don't know, I was just out of the loop. The fish food industry was turned upside down when it was discovered that black soldier fly larva was this amazing protein source, and there was really one brand that came out with that. And now you've got it, other brands have got it. I think that's the question. Do you see anything? Do you see the next black soldier fly larva out there that's going to change everything about the fish food industry?
For now, I don't see anything good.
I don't even know why I would have asked that, because if that was out there, it would be top secret, and there's no way you would say that on here. So I don't even know why I asked that.
Even with the black soldier larva, the companies are struggling. Like 5-6 years ago, there was 6 companies that started doing that, and the one that you mentioned that started using that. It was in BC, Canada, and it just went bankrupt.
Oh
And
no.
so is another three of them, So it's a very very hard, and they need so huge amounts of that larva to produce to replace, because the idea to replace the fish meal. But the fish meal is you go to the ocean, you catch 100 tons of sardines or herring, and you process and you have that. Try to grow 100,000 tons of the flies.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere near there.
So the industry is still struggling, and there's a shortage of the black soldier meal, because companies are jumping on it, but there is a short of demand, not demand production. So it's a struggle. It's a bit of struggle, but the new companies coming in now, so we'll see what's going to happen with that. But I don't think they can replace completely fish meal, because I don't think they can produce that much, and again it's going to be more expensive. So the other company is going to scrap that and going to move to something much cheaper.
Sounds
And
like
regarding the other products, I didn't see anything on the market yet, but you never know. Maybe someone gonna create not create, but gonna get something, with a good nutritional profile that we can use it. So we're waiting for that. If that comes in, we're gonna jump on it. It's
it
needed.
sounds like the three of us need to put our finances together and start up a soldier fly larva farm.
We can do it at your house, John.
I got the space for it. That's fine. I can lease some land over here, and we'll be good to go. Well, you got anything else, Jason?
I don't.
You don't. Yeah, we're through our list, and I think I was supposed to send you that list prior to us doing this, and I don't think I did, Darius. So I apologize about that. But you know what? You're a pro. You didn't need it. You could talk about this stuff probably in your sleep, because this is what you live and breathe. So, but this really does mean a lot. I'm a big fan of you and your family and your business, and I can remember Jay Wilson. Jay Wilson is the reason why I know about your brand. And when I talked to him about this for the first time, and this was in way back when he was first bringing it into the United States, he said the first thing he fell in love with was the family behind the brand. And that meant a lot to me, because I'm a small business myself, and I was like, okay, then you sold me, so let's talk about the next thing. And I've been a big fan of it ever since. So big thank you to Jay Wilson for introducing me and all of us here in the United States to the brand. And a huge thank you to you for creating an amazing product that we sell a lot of on our website. And also, of course, spending time with us here today. It's meant a lot. You don't do this much. You're a hard guy to narrow down for this. So
I'm busy. And I want to do those things, but yeah, the time is not enough 24 hours per day, to do all that.
I'm hoping that we get to see you in person again at one of these shows. Who knows? They're kind of up in the air now, but it'd be fun we should all go out to dinner or something and hang out.
Well, yeah. I'm planning, if there is gonna be a Quashell in Chicago, I'm planning to come this year in Chicago. Yeah, so nice. Make your arrangements.
Yeah, we missed all three of them this year, and I definitely regret it, because I miss seeing everybody, and that is a disappointment. But hopefully we can make that work, and we can get out there. That'd be a lot of fun. So listen, Darius, I appreciate you giving us this hour. It really does mean a lot, and thank you for telling us about your brand.
Thank you both. Yeah, thank you, and Jason. Yeah, we're very fortunate to meet you both, and your families. And we want to work closer with the hobbyists. With the retailers. If they want to work with us, we are very easy to work with. So
absolutely,
that's our motto.
I love it, and that's why I am such a big fan of the brand. So, yes, thank you once again to Darius. Thank all of you for watching, and we will see you next week.